Got your privy down there. We've been passed this morning by 3 hikers. It looks like they're all down here having their meal. 2 men and a woman. We're gonna just walk on by.
Hold on. We've been on the trail for an hour. Seems like 15 minutes. That's a great sign. Well, we've already been passed by 3 speedy hikers because we're prodding along.
So funny story, Justin and I and John went hiking New Year's Day last year, and we were coming into camp a little late. It was dark. It was going to be around 19, 18 that night, so we wanted to be off the top. John went ahead and built a fire, and Justin and I are coming down through here, so I haven't seen any of this in the daylight. But Justin and I were like yelling Marco Polo to John, trying to see where he went, because he was going to go ahead of us and start a fire. And so we were coming around this, we could tell we were on the descent, and we're yelling Marco, looking for a fire, and not knowing where John had made it to put our tent up. But now that I'm walking through here, I can't do anything but reminisce about that event, and seeing it in the daylight, it's so different than what we expected to see, because all I had was my phone flashlight, because John took my headlamp to get ahead of us. But good memories, good memories. It's hard to believe that Justin and I walked this in the dark with just a flashlight from my cell phone. We had no clue this narrow path with this drop off. I mean, it's straight down. We would have killed ourselves. And the only thing that we were doing is following the firelight we saw from John's fire. You don't want to take your eyes off the trail. It's soft and it's steep. So we're hiking along and Cheryl has her first fall, and as we're getting up, we see this trail runner singing to himself, running down the trail where we have just tiptoed because it's so steep in a zigzag. So I'm going to pull off trail so you can see him run by us. This is what makes us like, oh my gosh, we can barely walk this. And then you get these trail runners out here that just blow their minds. It's just incredible to see them run these trails. So this is our little campsite that John found for us. He did a great job because there's been nothing for at least 2 miles and we were cooked. So this was his fire. Now this was a year ago, mind you. But we were on grass and we had fire. Justin's tent went here, ours went there. And we had no idea what this would look like when we started. But there's a funny story. John and I went and slept in our 3-person tent and Justin in his own. And about 2 o'clock in the morning, it was so cold. It was like 19 degrees. And we were so cold. And we heard this. Well, I didn't. I felt the heat up against the back side of my tent where I was leaning against. And then I heard sniffing. And it walked around our campsite. And you can see there's grass. There was no way we could see tracks. But there's a longer story to go along with this. Just say that there was a food in our tent that I was not aware of. And it was sniffing around our tent for quite a while. And John and I were making all kinds of noise. And I said, Justin, don't get out of the tent. He goes, I'm not. I'm comfortable. And I said, do you have any food in there? He's like, no. And I said, well, bears can smell an M&M 3 miles away. And he goes, well, they're in my pocket. I'm not taking them out. And I asked John if he had anything, and he had an apple in his bag, and I was like, John, you can't do that. It was hilarious. I said, well, if that bear does anything, or whatever it is, it had to be low to the ground. I could feel the heat of its body and breath and could hear it all. At the time I wasn't videotaping. My camera was in my bag along with my filter and water so it wouldn't freeze. But it was an experience. So if you know my boys, they'll tell you the story too. It's kind of fun to be here again.
Wow.
Looks like some people have gone up that way. How do you want it?
Little trail maintenance here.
How do you want to go?
So I don't fall.
I didn't get a good shot of it. Well. So we come out of the woods. There's a white blaze right there. Road. That's not the way we're supposed to go. That's not the way we're supposed to go. There's no white blaze. That's not the way we're supposed to go. There's no white blaze. So you start looking at every tree for a white mark, and guess what? You find one. Hopefully you find one so you don't get lost. And that's where we're staying, the Happy Nomad Hiker. And they have a radio in there you're supposed to be able to use to call them because there's no service. How great is that? We love staying there. We're done, Cheryl.